If you're like me and you're thinking, man, I love GameMaker, I wish I could make a 3D game in it, then you're in the right place. I made this 3D FPS, and now you're gonna make it with me. These are the sprites used in this project. You can get them from the description, and you can also get the final project from there as well. So let's get started and make a new project. The first thing I wanna do is set up the floor in our game. So in the project I have this sprite for the floor. I'm gonna go into it and enable 9 slicing and set the center tile to repeat. And then let's go in the room, make an asset layer and just put the sprite there and just spread it across. It becomes the floor. But then you wanna go into that asset layer and unlock the depth and set it to 0. Because in the game, the depth is gonna be the same as the z-axis, which is the up and down, and 0 is gonna be the ground. With that setup, we can now start working towards our camera, and the first step for that is the resolution of the game. So for that, I'm gonna make a script, which is the first thing that runs in your game. And here let's set up the resolution as global variables and then set the window size and the application surface, which is the actual resolution of your game. And now for the 3D camera, let's go and make an object for the player. And I'm just gonna set up the camera here. You can make a separate object for that if you want. So in the create event, let's write some code. This part is gonna make the camera and enable it in the room. Then this is gonna set up the projection matrix. So that is the projection of your camera, how much it's seeing, the FOV, the aspect ratio and all that. So that's the first part of your 3D camera, the projection matrix. The second part is the view matrix, which mainly defines where you're looking from and where you're looking at. So that defines the view of the camera. These variables are gonna help us with that. The actual view matrix we're gonna set up in the draw begin event. So that's before anything starts drawing. This part is setting up all the look variables. In this function here, you can see the position that we are looking from is just the X, Y, and Z position of the player. The X and Y are built-in variables, and the Z, we made that. And the position that we are looking at is being set up in these variables over here. And after that, we're just passing in the up vector into this function. So we are defining what is up in our game world, and it's the negative Z axis. Then we're just applying that to the camera. Now I did make the mistake of making the aspect ratio negative and not the FOV, when the manual says the FOV should be negative and not the aspect ratio. So this just means that our up vector is gonna be flipped. So instead of what I said before, it's the positive Z that's gonna be up in our game and negative Z is gonna be down. But that's not gonna create any problems for you. It's just something that you should know from this point onward. So go into the room and put the player object in there. And if you run your game, you're gonna see this. You can see the floor, so we have a 3D world set up. Now we need to work on mouse input so we can actually look around. So going back into the create event of the player, I'm gonna set up variables for the sensitivity of the mouse and then lock the camera to the window, so when you're moving the mouse around, you can't actually move the cursor. Then in the step event, we get the delta movement of the mouse, so how much it's moving every frame. And then we apply that to the direction and the tilt, and we also limit the tilt to -80 and 80 degrees, so you can't just keep spinning the player. With that in the game, you can look around, but it looks like this. A simple fix for this is going into the draw begin event and using this function to clear the background to black before anything has started drawing. With that, it looks good. If you didn't get that issue at all, make sure you go into your room and delete the background layer, otherwise you're gonna get other issues in the game later on. So now with the 3D camera and the mouse input setup, we're gonna work on the 3D movement of the player. Back in the create event, I'm gonna set up these variables for the movement, and in the step event, we use this simple code to get the horizontal input and the vertical input. Then I'm gonna do a check. If shift is held down, I'm gonna multiply those by 2 so we can run in that case. But now we can't just take the X and Y input and apply them to the X and Y axes because we are not in 2D anymore. We could be facing in any direction. So I'm first gonna get the forward direction and the side direction so I can use them for movement, and then use the lengthdir X and Y functions to calculate where we should be moving, and then applying that to the final move X and move Y variables. And then to apply that to the instance, I'm gonna run the move and collide function. And for now, I'm gonna pass an empty array into the collision parameter because we don't have a wall object yet, but we're gonna have that soon. Now we can move around, but if you release input, you stop instantly. So we're gonna implement some simple friction. So this code, if the input is smaller than the movement vector that we have, it's gonna reduce it over time. So you get some basic friction, and that works. Now before we move ahead, let's add some vibes into the game by adding fog. So for that, let's just go back into the script that we set up for the resolution, and I'm gonna make a color for the fog and then enable that with this function. And I also want the background to be that same color. So in the player's draw begin event, instead of clearing it to black, I'm gonna clear it to the color of the fog. Run the game and you can now see the fog, but that's not really the color that I want, so we're gonna mix up some colors to make the color that I want. Just where you set up that teal color, let's use the merge color function instead, so you can use that to merge 2 colors and find out where between 0 and 1 exactly it should be, and that looks more like what I want. Now we're gonna create billboard objects, which are basically simple sprites in your 3D world that are always facing the camera. So you never really see it as a flat object, but it is. The first thing I'm gonna make with that is a barrel. So let's go into the sprite for that and set the origin to bottom center. Then for these kind of objects, I'm gonna make a new object called obj3d and make a new variable in that called z_tilt. It'll be a boolean and false by default. So if you set this to true, then the billboard object will face the camera vertically as well if you're looking down on it. But if it's false, then it's just gonna rotate like this and it's not gonna go up and down. So let's add a draw event into this object, and first thing we're gonna do here is exit if the player doesn't exist, because this does depend on the player's camera to rotate itself. We're gonna set up a matrix first. You can use a matrix in the draw event to draw things with a different position, rotation or scale, and it supports all 3 axes, so you can essentially use this to turn any 2D object into a 3D object. Sort of like that other video that I made recently. Then we set that matrix as the world matrix, then draw our thing, and then reset the matrix to the default one. Now with this base setup, I'm gonna make an actual object for our barrel and set this as a child of the 3D object. I'm gonna place this around the room, and if you run the game, you can see it. It sort of behaves like a 3D object because it looks the same from all angles. But you can see they're moving very unnaturally, and it's because they're on a different layer than the floor. And we can fix that by sort of doing a hack. I'm just gonna go into the script. I'm gonna call this function to force the depths of all the layers to be 0. So they're all by default gonna be at the ground, but then in our own code we can change the z-axis and make them appear wherever we want. And with that, it's now appearing the way it should because all layers are now on the same depth. And this technique was actually used a lot in all games, like this guy from Super Mario 64. That's not a sphere, that's just a circle. If you then enable the z_tilt variable for the barrel, you can see the difference now, and it sort of tilts upwards as well if you look down on it. Now we do have this depth issue because we haven't enabled z-testing yet, so things that are closer to the camera should be in the front, but the game is not doing that yet. So let's go back into the display script and call this function to enable that. And if you go into the game now, that is fixed. Yay! Oh, there's this issue as well. We haven't enabled alpha testing yet, so the transparent parts are also taking over the z-testing. So let's enable that with this, and looks good now. You're still gonna have some of it on the edges if you have interpolation enabled. If you disable it, most of that goes away. Now we're gonna set up the walls, which are not gonna be billboard objects, they're gonna be actual cubes. So for that, I'll first go into the wall sprite and do the same 9 slicing on this so we can repeat this as well. And then I'll make the obj wall object. I'll put this around the room first and make a sort of level with this. Now because we're using 9 slicing, you don't have to place one block at a time. Instead, you can place long stretches of walls at a time, and that's gonna make the level design and the performance much better. And then back in the player object where we call the move and collide function, I'm gonna include the obj wall object in there so we don't walk into the walls. If you run the game, it's gonna appear like this. One issue first before we get to the drawing, you can't actually collide with the walls because the player doesn't have a sprite, so it doesn't have a collision mask. Look at this guy. So I'm just gonna make a 16x16 sprite for the mask. I'm gonna set its origin to center, assign that as a collision mask to the player, and now you should be able to collide with the walls. I also want the player to collide with the barrels as well. So in the move and collide function, I'm gonna include the obj3d object. So all the 3D billboard objects that you have are also gonna collide with the player. The mask on the barrel is not correct though because it covers areas that it should not collide with. So I'm gonna go into its sprite and use this type of mask around this area. When you go into the game it translates into what it should be in 3D. Now we're gonna set up the wall models, which is the cube for the wall, but it's not actually gonna be geometry or an actual cube with vertices. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw the wall sprite 4 times, once for each side of the wall, and we're gonna use a matrix for that, just how we made the barrels stand up. So to make that a bit easier, I'm gonna set up this draw in 3D function, which just allows you to draw any sprite in 3D and pass in its position and rotation and the X and Y scale, and then it just builds that matrix for you, draws the sprite of the object, and then resets the matrix. So I'm gonna go into the draw event of the wall object and use that function 4 times to draw each side of the wall, and you can see all the different rotation values that I have for that. And now if you go into the game, you're gonna see the walls. They're actual walls now. So cool. They are the height of just 1 cube though. So let's go into the create event of the wall, set up this variable for the height, which I'm gonna set to 4. And then in the draw event of the wall, where I passed in 1 into all these scale values, I'm gonna pass the wall height instead. And now you can see the walls are taller. They are covering the area of 4 cubes. And you can make them shorter and taller if you want by just changing that variable. Now it can't be an FPS without a gun, can it? Can it? So we're gonna work on that now. I had the sprite for the gun that's gonna appear on the screen. I'm gonna set this origin to bottom right so I can anchor it to the bottom right corner of the screen. And I have this shoot animation as well. I'm gonna do the same to this. I'm gonna make an object for the gun. I'm gonna call it obj gun 1. In the future, if you wanna make more guns, you can just duplicate this and make gun 2, gun 3 and all that. I'm gonna set the sprite here and then go into the create event of the player. And here I'm gonna make an instance of that object and then set up variables for the shoot interval, which is how frequently you can shoot if you got the mouse button held down. And now back in the gun object, in the create event, I'm gonna define variables that contain the different sprites that the gun is gonna use. So again, you can change these for a different object. I'm making these as variables, so if you make a different gun object, then you can just swap the sprites here instead of in all of the remaining code. Now I'm gonna add the draw GUI event in this object because we want to draw the gun to the screen and not inside the room. But we have to use a different GPU state for this because I need to disable the fog, otherwise it's gonna be all over the gun. So let's push a new state and disable all the fog, then draw the gun sprite at a scale of 4 and then reset the GPU state to what it was before we pushed it. It should appear in the game now, and now we're gonna work on the shooting. So in the create event of the gun, I'm gonna make a function called shoot. So it's just gonna change the sprite and the animation frame of the gun. And then in the animation end event, if we are playing the shoot animation and it ended, we switch back to the normal sprite. Now for the actual shooting, let's go into the player object, and in the step event, let's check if the left mouse button was held down and if the shoot time is at or below 0. In that case, we shoot with the gun and then we set the shoot time to the shoot interval, so you can't shoot again for another 15 frames. And if the shoot time is above 0, which means you can't shoot right now, we reduce it by 1, so eventually it gets back down to 0 and we can shoot again. And with that, if you run the game, you can shoot, at least play the animation. Nothing comes out yet, but we're gonna work on that soon. First, we're gonna make sort of a bobbing animation for the gun, so when you're moving around, it sort of moves up and down. So in the gun object, I'm gonna set up these offset variables for X and Y. And then in the step event, let's do this to not run any code if the player doesn't exist. And I'm gonna calculate this so it's higher if the player is moving more. So we're gonna calculate this sine wave based on the time and then apply that to the X offset. But the value of that increases based on the player's speed. Then we set up a separate sine wave, do the same with the Y offset. And because we did all this actually with local variables, we are now gonna apply all that to the instance variables using the love function. It doesn't get the raw value of the offset, but it's sort of interpolated to make it smoother and slower. Then to make this work, just go into the draw GUI event, and where you're drawing the gun, just add the offsets into it. And if you run the game now, you're gonna see it working. If you don't like it, you can change the offset values, play around with them until you get what you like. Now I want the gun to shift around with the camera for some easy realism. So I'll add variables for the X and Y shift. In step, I get the X and Y delta movement of the mouse. I interpolate them with those variables, then add that value to the offset. And now if you run the game, the gun is offset to move with the camera, so it feels like it's being left behind if you move the camera too fast, and that makes the movement feel much more realistic. Now for the actual shooting, I'm gonna make an obj bullet object, and in the create event, we're gonna set the alarm 0 to 5 seconds, and in the alarm 0 event, we're gonna destroy the instance, so whenever you shoot a bullet, 5 seconds later, it just disappears. Then I'll make a collision event with the wall object, so if it comes in contact with a wall, then it destroys itself, so the bullet can't actually go through walls. That would be a hack. And then in the draw event, I'm gonna draw a line from its previous position to its current position with a width of 4, but I don't want that to be on the ground, so I'm gonna use the Z value of the player. And you can see we are calling the depth function for that because, as I said before in GameMaker, the depth is the same as the z-axis as long as you're using the z-axis as the up vector. And for the actual shooting, let's go back into the player object, and in the step event, when the mouse is pressed and the gun shoots, we're gonna make an instance of the bullet object and set the speed and set the direction based on the player's direction. With that, you can shoot. It's a shooter now and it's in first person, so it's an FPS now. But the video isn't done yet because what's remaining are the enemies. So for my enemy, I have these 4 sprites for all the directions when it's facing away, facing toward you, left and right. I'm gonna set the origins of all that near the bottom center, and I'm gonna set the mask of one of these sprites to what I wanna use for the enemy. And then I'm gonna make the enemy parent object, set a sprite, and set the collision mask to that one sprite where I set up the mask. So this is the enemy parent, but I'm going to set its parent to obj3d so that all enemy objects now become Billboard objects. I'm going to put some of these around the room, and now for all the enemy logic, let's go back into the enemy object and at the create event, I'm going to set up these variables containing the sprites used for all the states. Now which sprite the enemy shows to you depends on which angle you're looking at it from, so that's going to be dependent on the player. So let's add the end step event, so this runs after the player has moved. Let's not do anything if the player doesn't exist. Well, we're not going to tell him about that. Then we get the direction of the enemy towards the player. And then we do all this to get 4 values out of it. 0, 1, -1 and 2. Depending on the angle between them. So if you have any one of these angles, you're gonna get these sprites. So we are working with 4 sprites because we are dividing the direction by 90. But if you prefer to work with 8 angles, then you can divide this with 45 instead, and then you get a higher range of values to work with. So if you run the game now and look at the enemies, you can see that it changes the sprite depending on where you're looking from, and it's working very nicely. Now they're not scary if they don't move. For the movement, let's go into the create event of the enemy and set up the movement speed. And in the step event, let's get the distance to the player instance and set up these movement variables. If the distance is greater than 100, I'm just increasing the direction value so it just keeps moving in a circle. Otherwise, if the player is in the range of the enemy, I'm gonna set the direction to this so it moves towards the player, and then we are just calculating the movement variables based on that direction and then passing that into the move and collide function so it moves and stops when it comes across a wall, a 3D billboard object, or the player itself. So if you go around, you can see the enemies moving around, and if you go close enough, they start walking towards you and the walls block them. Man, I wish I could kill them. Oh wait, I can, but I have to code first. For that, I'm gonna import this sprite first for the dead animation of the enemy, set the origin, and also set its mask. And for that, we're gonna make a different object called obj enemy dead. I'm gonna set its parent to obj3d so it becomes a billboard object. Then in the animation end event, stop the animation by setting the speed to 0 and set the frame to the last frame of the animation. And now we're gonna set up the death logic in the enemy objects create event. So first we set up a sprite for the dead state, then we set up a health for the enemy, and then we make a hit function that runs whenever the player's bullet hits the enemy. Here we are reducing the HP by 1, and if the HP goes down to 0, the enemy is dead. So we make an instance of the enemy dead object and set the sprite of that new instance to the dead state sprite, and then we destroy the enemy instance. To actually make this work, let's go into the obj bullet object, and in the step event, I'm gonna run the collision line function to see if the bullet has come across any enemy instances between its previous position and its current position. So whenever you're making any bullet object, it's a good idea to check a collision in a line because bullets move fast and you don't want to miss any spots where you might have passed an enemy. So if we found one enemy, then we're gonna run its hit function and we're gonna destroy the bullet instance. If you run the game now, you can shoot at the enemies, hurt them, and they eventually die. So we now have a nice satisfying little FPS. Now there's no stakes because I'm vegetarian. There's no stakes here because you can't lose. So for that we need to give the player a health that depletes whenever you touch an enemy. So for that I'm gonna make this font first to display the health of the player. And in the create event I'm gonna set up the health and a immune variable. So you can't be hurt by an enemy every frame. If you're in contact with it, you will be hurt, then you will be immune for a few frames, and then you can be hurt again. So in the end step event of the player, let's run the collision circle function to check if we are colliding with an enemy. And if we are not immune, then we reduce the HP by 5, set the immune variable to true, and then run the call later function. So this is a nice alternative to alarms. Time sources in general allow for delta timing, which already gives you a great advantage over alarms. But when you don't want to run a whole event and you just want to run a line of code, this is very convenient. So I'm running this 0.5 seconds later, and I'm just running a simple function that sets the immune variable back to false. Now at the end of the event, we check if the HP is smaller than or at 0, and in that case we restart the room. Let's draw the health as well. So let's add a draw GUI event into the player object. Set the font and the vertical alignment to bottom, and again I'm gonna have to push state for this to disable the fog, and then we draw the text using a template string to insert a variable into it. Then we pop the GPU state back and reset the vertical alignment to its default value. Now my player couldn't actually collide with the enemy, so I had to give it the same sprite that we gave it as a mask. So if you run the game, you can now see the health, and if you stay close to an enemy for too long for any reason, the game will restart. You can see the sprite if you look down, so you just go into the player, add the draw event, and leave it empty. So the game is done. If you want to add more enemies, it's just as simple as making a new object and making it a child of the obj enemy parent, which already has all the logic. And then in the create event, you can just override it and set the new sprites, and you can change the HP variable, and you can make a new variable for how much damage it does to the player, and you can make a larger level, add more enemies. And if you want me to expand this game and add more features to it and make a more fully fledged FPS, let me know in the comments, and if we have enough comments, we might do that. And do you like this tutorial? Do you like us doing more 3D videos in general? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.